high intelligence, right? Penn, Princeton, really great pedigree. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're a great leader. They're very intelligent, but if they don't have the socials, and I can think of two right off the bat.
If you want to just name them.
And they weren't in SAP. They weren't in SAP. But I can think of two that I work, and we all can, right? I think every one of us can think about someone we work for who didn't necessarily have that EQ component. And that is so important. In my mind, it's more important than IQ. Because if you have EQ and you can relate to people, you can relate to customers, you can relate up, and you, more importantly, relating down to your teams, that's where the rubber hits the road.
I think the success is with a team and not with a single player. You can have the best player in your team. If you only have one player, he will not win the match. So I think you need the team, and you need EQ is much more important for leadership. And I think without IQ, you anyway will not come there.
Let's talk a little bit how you scale EQ, right? So we work for a global company. When I asked how many people either want to work globally or have worked globally, almost everybody raised their hand. What is the importance of global diversity in the workplace today? And how do we attract and retain people in that very complex environment? Tanya, I mean, you work internationally, so I don't know if you wanted to discuss that.
Global diversity. I think it's if we are not embracing it, we will not be successful as SAP. And I think it's the same for all other companies. And it goes beyond gender, it goes to generations, it goes to culture. Sometimes we stop at gender, but if we are not really looking and also break down some of the cultural barriers, we can now close our eyes and say, oh, we are all best friends. No, we are not all best friends. The German sometimes thinks, oh, what are they doing in US? And then they think, oh, what is happening in China and Israel anyway knows it much better. India is No, it's not, it's just to break down those silos and on cultural differences and embrace the global diversity, I think is a key task for us, and it will be one of the winning factors of the successful companies of the future.
Can I go back to touch on diversity? You were talking about EQ, IQ. Well, the good news on EQ is you can learn it, right? IQ, you can't change it. But I think there's a third leg of the stool that I've read a lot about over the years, and it's a philosophy that we believe in at EY, and that's also the third component, which is CQ, curiosity quotient. And you can also learn that, and you can really pay close attention to it. It helps with complexity, helps with globality, helps with capacity building. By building your curiosity quotient. And how do you do that? You value differences. You show intellectual interest sincerely in other people that are different, how they run their business, how they live, what their backgrounds are, and what their thinking style, working style, et cetera, it is that they're bringing to their team. So I think that's also another way that you can really expand your leadership capacity by paying attention to your level of curiosity and valuing the differences on your teams or with your customers, et cetera.
I only add a little bit. What I think, what we also should, building on what you said, all of our task is build bridges. If you are in another location, if you are somewhere else, try to build this bridge and go over this gap, whatever it is. It was one of the hidden tasks I had, also secret task when I went to Palo Alto. And I think this is very important that we all take it as one of the things we do besides our normal work, build bridges between the teams and cultures.
I'll just add one thing, and that's I've been doing a lot of reading around decision bias and where we grow up, how we grow up, the types of families we're in, the types of culture we're in, leads to an unconscious bias in your decision-making process. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about is by having diversity, you actually break down that unconscious bias.
Good. All right, now it's time to get real. So we're going to talk about women's leadership. And some of these guys, I'm going to ask them some questions. They're going to share some personal experiences and give their thoughts. So the first question I have is for you, Marty. And as
pick on the male panelist.
We were talking about these events and the types of questions that often get asked, and I think women are often asked, what's the greatest hurdle on the way of tomorrow's female leaders, and what do we need to overcome? But we don't hear the answer typically from a male. So I thought we'd ask you, Marty, What is getting in the way of tomorrow's female leaders? What are the hurdles for success?
Yeah, here we go. All right. All the males in the room, feel free to jump in here. So, I think there's a couple. I think clearly the caregiver decision, both at the beginning of your career and the end of the career, is a big one, right? But I also think as you rise through the levels of the organization, you can become much more of a minority in the boardroom, right? All males, maybe one female, maybe two, and there could be a tendency to change your style, your leadership style. And what got you there, you tend to maybe suppress, where you're not as open, right? So I think that recognizing that you can still be authentic, even where the situation might be uncomfortable, is important. And I also think that not suppressing and leaning in more, right, when you have to, and being open and transparent around the decision process is really important. So I would say those two kind of come to mind for me.
I noticed that you worked lean in there. That's good.
Yeah, you gotta lean in.
Anyone else want to comment on this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of things you've said. I think I would take it to an extreme. I think it's more than lean in. I think you got to dive in, and you're gonna get dirty, and you're gonna have scars, and you're gonna have bruises, and you're gonna develop a very thick skin because things are not gonna go the way you planned, and failure is what makes you stronger. But to me, when I look at women in roles in leadership, and I look at all the career paths that I've taken, which have been predominantly men, it is exactly what you said, which is you are in the room because of the assets you bring to the table. So what I would say to you is define your vision and then go do it. And don't be apologetic about it. Don't apologize for being uniquely different. Don't apologize for being a woman. Don't apologize for the fact that you might have 3 kids at home and one of them may have come home sick, and that's the nature of what comes with your package. And that's what makes you uniquely distinct. And I've worked with tons of men. I love men. But I will just say that, they're thinking about these things too. One of the things I've learned about working with some of the most incredible leaders in the world is being a leader is very, very lonely. It is an extremely lonely place. And I would dare you to think about why it is lonely and what it is that you can do to help solve for that and learn from that. When you get all the way up the ranks and you have to make decisions that influence so many people's lives, that influence revenue, EBITDA, we can sit here and name all the influences that a leader is responsible for. When you go home at night and you think about all those consequences, all those decisions, you are really alone. So how, in your leadership path, can you look at that executive next to you or above you and help solve something for them? Be an ear. Allow for them to share with you what they're thinking about. Listen to what they're saying. That, I think, will tell you so much about why it is that so few women have made it up into the C-suite. Because for many of those women, there's not a lot of us around them to share and be really honest and authentic and say, you know what, I'm struggling. This is hard. There's no blueprint. Give me the model, give me the role. Well, you know what? It may not exist, but you have to go create it. And you're gonna see things about the man sitting next to you or the woman working in the company next door to you. And you're gonna see elements of their skills and how they handle the pressure, what they do when they overcome the obstacles, and you're gonna pull elements of that and make them your own. But what you cannot do is be someone you are not. I remember when I first went onto Wall Street, it was look the part, okay? Navy blue pinstripe suits, okay? You know how long I did that? I did that for about a decade. And then I went into television, and they were like, sorry, it's time to like change your image. And I said, what do you mean, what's wrong with my image? Well, you know, let's be like a little happier. Maybe we can get out of like the black, the dark gray, and the navy blue. Maybe we can add a little bit of color into your wardrobe. And it taught me so much. And I'll tell you, it's something I want you guys to think about. The number of boardrooms that I walk into today in which I am the only woman. You know, the men, when I walk in the room, they are assessing me from the outside. Raise your hand if you've been assessed from how you look, or you feel that way. Okay, let's be honest. So you know what? Don't walk in a room when you're going into a room full of 15 men and hold your papers like this and your shoulders a little shrugged. I want you to walk in the room. I want you to put the papers on the side. I want you to lift your chest because you got it, okay? And I want you to walk in that room with confidence and know that, oh, by the way, they are assessing you from the outside. Because you know what? I'm assessing all of those men in the room too. And you know what? You're going to sit in that boardroom and you're going to listen to all the great things that are said. And then you're going to find your moment when they least expect it. And you're going to say something revolutionary. And all of a sudden, what they thought on the outside may not meet what comes out of here. And that's called surprise and delight. And when you leave that room, don't you just feel divine? Honestly, I want you to do more of that. So I think we'll
Great. Yeah. That was awesome. And I think what we'll do is we'll actually practice the walk on our way out.
Yeah, that's part of the process.
Yeah, that's part of this. I want to supplement what she said with some numbers and then hand it over to